I almost gave up on fish keeping. Yes, really. I got to a point where I looked at the aquarium and thought, this will never work. Fish dying for no apparent reason, cloudy water, algae everywhere, strange smell, and a constant feeling of failure. And the most frustrating thing, I thought I was doing everything right. If you've ever felt that your aquarium gives you more headaches than pleasure, I completely understand. But what I discovered, after many mistakes, research and attempts, is that the problem wasn't the fish, it was me. Today, I'm going to share the biggest mistakes that almost made me give up, and most importantly, what I learned from each of them. Because if I had listened to someone tell me this before, I would have saved time, money, and a lot of frustration. So if you're thinking about setting up your first aquarium, or have been struggling to keep yours balanced for a while, watch until the end. These lessons aren't just about avoiding problems, they're to show you that having an amazing aquarium is possible, even after making many mistakes. 1. Changing all the water at once. My first big mistake was thinking that new water equals a new and healthy aquarium. I remember looking at the slightly cloudy water and thinking, okay, I'll solve this by changing everything. And I would change it, 100%. The result? Stressed fish, dying within hours, and me not understanding why. It took me a while to discover that an aquarium is an ecosystem, and that beneficial bacteria live precisely in the water and filters. When I changed everything, I destroyed the biological balance and forced the system to start from scratch, again and again. It's like restarting an entire city because one street got dirty. It seems to solve the problem, but the chaos returns stronger. Today, I know. The secret lies in partial water changes, 20 to 30% per week at most, and always with treated water at the same temperature as the aquarium. This simple change stabilized everything. The water became crystal clear, the fish stopped gasping, and for the first time, I felt that the aquarium was breathing normally. Changing everything at once is like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. Balance comes from consistency, not haste. 2. Overfeeding. I used to think that feeding the fish several times a day was a gesture of affection. They would come to the surface, swim fast, and I would think they're hungry. The problem is that excess food doesn't turn into affection. It turns into ammonia, nitrite, and algae. The leftover food rots, unbalances the filter, and transforms the aquarium into an invisible toxic broth. The worst part is that, at first, everything seems fine. The water is still clean, the fish are lively, until suddenly they start dying one by one. It was difficult to understand that fish don't need so much. Today I feed them only twice a day in small quantities, enough to be consumed in 2 minutes, and the difference was absurd. Less dirt, less algae, and much more active fish. I learned that feeding correctly is an act of love, and that a well-cared-for fish is a fish that lives longer, not one that eats more. Nature is economical. It thrives on the essential, not on excess. 3. Overcleaning. Another fatal mistake, wanting to make everything sparkling. Every week I would disassemble the aquarium, wash rocks, driftwood, filters, sometimes even with soap. It seemed like the right thing to do, until I discovered I was killing the biological heart of my aquarium. The bacteria that keep the water healthy live in the filter and on the surfaces. When you sterilize everything, you reset the nitrogen cycle, and when the cycle resets, disaster strikes. Ammonia rises, fish become lethargic, and die one by one. Today, I never use soap or chemicals. I only clean with water from the aquarium itself, and only when absolutely necessary. The glass may have a small stain or two, but what matters is the invisible health that exists inside. It's like a forest. The ground may be full of leaves, but that's part of the balance. Sometimes the best care is to let the aquarium be a little natural. Overcleaning is like trying to polish a tree. It doesn't make sense, and only destroys what is most alive in it. 4. Mixing incompatible species. This mistake was painful. I would see a beautiful fish in the store and think, it will look beautiful in my aquarium. Without research, without planning. The result? Fish fighting, torn fins, and a constant war environment. It took me a while to understand that not every fish is compatible with another, and that the aquarium needs to be set up harmoniously, not randomly. For example, betta with long-finned fish, disaster. African cichlids with tetras, disaster. Schooled fish alone, stress. Today, before adding any fish, I research ideal temperature, pH and water hardness, territorial behavior, adult size, and most importantly, I quarantine them. I learned the hard way that sometimes a single sick fish can contaminate the entire aquarium. Setting up an aquarium is like putting together an orchestra. You can have amazing musicians, but if each one plays at a different pace, it becomes noise, not music. When species coexist well, the aquarium transforms. It becomes calm, beautiful, and balanced. 5. Ignoring the plants. At first, I saw plants only as decoration. I would put any kind in, without substrate, without adequate light, and of course they died. What I didn't know is that plants are the soul of the aquarium. They absorb nitrates, produce oxygen, and stabilize the entire system. When I started treating them as a living part, everything changed. I used fertile substrate, liquid fertilization, and correct lighting. And for the first time, I saw bubbles coming out of the leaves, a sign of active photosynthesis. The water became more stable, the fish calmer, and the algae began to disappear. That's when I realized healthy plants are the best indicator of a balanced aquarium. They are like the hair of a living being. When they are beautiful, it's because the body is healthy. If you want an easy-to-maintain aquarium, invest in hardy plants such as Anubias, Elodeas, and Kabombas. They will work for you, naturally purifying and stabilizing the water. 6. Thinking that clean visuals are synonymous with health. This was one of my biggest mistakes. I thought the perfect aquarium was the one in magazines. Gleaming glass, a clean bottom, no algae, nothing. But I learned that an overly clean aquarium is an unbalanced aquarium. In nature, there is no such thing as artificial crystal clear. There is movement, life, decomposition, and that's part of the balance. When everything is too clean, it's a sign that the system has been sterilized. And without microorganisms, the biological cycle collapses. Today I've learned to see beauty in small imperfections, that light layer of biofilm on the glass, the root of the trunk covered in moss, the microbubbles dancing on the surface. These details show that the aquarium is alive. It's like a forest, it's not perfect, but it's harmonious. So if your aquarium has small signs of life, don't try to fix everything. Sometimes the best thing you can do is observe and let the system follow its natural rhythm. True balance doesn't shine, it breathes. I almost gave up on aquariums, but looking back, I realized that each mistake taught me something essential. I learned that an aquarium isn't an ornament, it's an ecosystem, and that caring for it is in fact an exercise in patience, observation, and humility. I learned that excessive zeal can kill more than a lack of care, that overcleaning, overfeeding, overchanging is trying to impose our rhythm on something that lives in a different time. The aquarium taught me about balance, and curiously about myself, because like it, I also needed to learn to slow down, observe, and understand that good things take time to stabilize. If you are going through difficulties, don't give up. Every experienced aquarist has gone through a phase of frustration, but it is precisely in these mistakes that true knowledge is born. Today, my aquarium is everything I ever wanted. Stable, beautiful, and full of life. And it all started the day I stopped fighting it and started listening to what it was trying to tell me. Now tell me, what was the hardest mistake you ever made? Leave it in the comments, and of course subscribe to the channel and share this video with anyone who needs to hear that making mistakes is part of the process.